Hello grade 6, happy Thursday. As you can see from this slide and from this title and from hopefully reading the instructions, we're starting with our moral education classes. And what we're doing in grade 6 for moral ed for the rest of this year is we're focusing on kind of mindfulness and strategies we can use because we're living in a pretty crazy time right now, right? A pretty stressful time. A time that we might be using a lot to kind of distract ourselves from the problems outside or inside of our homes, and we really need the strategies in order to be able to handle or cope with these, right? So what we're going to do today is we're going to introduce mindfulness a little bit, because I know you've talked about it before, but we're going to talk about it so you remember what it is, and then we're going to introduce kind of what we're going to do each week, because it's going to happen every Thursday, hopefully for about like a half an hour, and that'll be our moral ed. So introduction to mindfulness. First thing, I like this image a lot, right? When we talk about mindfulness, it's the idea of mindful or mindful, right? So obviously you have a dog, you have a human, but what the human is walking out in nature with its pet, with its companion, and it's thinking about everything in the world, right? Everything except where it actually is. And I think that's a really big aspect of mindfulness. So before we get to this slide, I'm just going to hopefully play this video. I'm just trying to figure a way to fandangle. This is by Mind Yeti, and it's going to be a quick video that just talks about what mindfulness is.
What is mindfulness anyway? When you're doing Mind Yeti, you're practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is paying attention to things as they are right now. Things like your breath, body, or the sounds around you, with kindness and curiosity. It's also noticing thoughts, feelings, and sensations as they're happening. Mindfulness is also being kind to others and yourself, even when you're having a hard day. According to scientists who study the brain, practicing mindfulness can help you get better at calming down, focusing, and connecting with other people. And all of those things are pretty important, both at home and at school.
Alright, so that video, right, it was by Mind Yeti. It's a website that you can use, and it gives you a lot of resources of how to practice mindfulness, but it does a really good job of introducing what mindfulness is. It's essentially, think of it as like a body scan, right? It's being aware of your body and your mind, right? That's what mindfulness is. So the big image that you see on the slide, right, that's typically what our brains are, well, some of our brains are like all the time, right? We're either thinking of all the homework we have to do, or our friends' problems, our relationship problems, our family problems. We're thinking about the weekend. What are we going to do? We're thinking about Travis Scott's new album. We're thinking about maybe going home and playing Minecraft. We're thinking about always something. And sometimes we're not always aware of how we're feeling and what we're doing, right? And so with mindfulness, if you look at the image, I'm going to click on it so it kind of highlights it, right? The image here, it takes that cluttered thought and it allows you to try to think on a certain wavelength, right? So that's usually in times when we're having a lot of stress in our life. If we look at this image at the bottom, right, mindfulness is that idea of you have all these thoughts that are jumbled and you're going to extract one and really think and be present with it. So mindfulness will help us when we're stressed, when we're depressed, when we're anxious. It's a practice to help us kind of rethink how we think. Because sometimes when we feel like those negative emotions, those emotions we don't want to feel, right, what happens is we tend to just try to distract ourselves and think of something else. Mindfulness, though, is acknowledging this thought, this feeling, thinking about where it comes from, and allowing it to process. Right? Pass on through and don't leave a lasting impact. Okay? And so what we're going to do is we're focusing on mindfulness, and we're focusing on strategies that are going to help you now and hopefully for the rest of junior high and high school and the rest of your life. I'm trying to bring this to the front. This isn't going to work. Got to make it smaller. Jesus. So, your mind is your superpower. Absolutely, right? What mindfulness really helps us do and think about is that idea that at the end of the day, what we have the most of is the connection of body and mind, right? Material things, well, we're experiencing now in quarantine, right? Material things, going out for dinner, all these things are luxuries. Really, what we need to have is our mind and our body, right? And we take care of that, and it's the greatest thing that we're going to have. And so, how we treat it as a superpower is we kind of develop strategies to develop it, right? Just the same as any other skill. So let's go back to this. Sorry, I was on the wrong page. Right? So welcome. You are about to explore an adventure game related to the practice of mindfulness. So the benefits of mindfulness is kind of introduction again. The purpose of the game, what goes in your mind and body enables many wonderful things you can do. But sometimes, some things or some things might block you from being the best version of yourself. So some stresses, some emotions, some outside experiences, they might stop you from being kind of the person you want to be or the person that you feel like being, right? So to stay on top of your game and show how awesome you are, here are some mindful strategies for you to explore. So these are the 4 that we're going to explore over the next 4 weeks. Right? We're going to explore taking a moment, being kind, showing gratitude, and bouncing back. Taking a moment is what we're going to focus on today. I'm going to post this. You can read through it, but we're going to have a lesson each day to kind of talk about what it really is. All right, each week. What we're going to do. All right. So why should you do all these things? It's going to help you kind of produce more chemicals for a positive experience, a better mood. It's going to give you strength in difficult situations so you don't kind of crater more. It's going to be powerful ways to build connections. It's going to increase your brain flexibility, leading to more confidence. So what you're going to do is there's going to be a link, right? You're going to click on it, and it's going to have options, right? So these options, so the first thing is your options are going to be your mood. If I can just remember off the top of my head, it's basically like, are you feeling content, which means, yeah, you're okay. Are you feeling upset about something? Are you frustrated? Are you hyper maybe? Are you upset, right? So you're going to select one of those, and with it, it's going to pop up a quote. And if you need help with this, obviously I'll Zoom you and I'll help you with this, right? And it'll pop up a quote. Read the quote. I think it really does talk about how you're feeling and how it connects to mindfulness. After that, there's going to be 2 options. There's going to be a hands-on activity or a guided take a moment. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on one of those things. You owe it to yourself to take a moment to just breathe and be. In our fast-paced world, it is important to practice paying attention to the present moment in a non-judgmental way. These guided and hands-on activities will allow you to focus on the present rather than the past or the future. And so what we're going to do today is we're focusing on taking a moment. You're going to click on it, one of these things that kind of you're more interested in reading, and then you're going to write the reflection based on what you've learned. Okay? So again, you're going to click on the link, you're going to select your mood, you're going to read through it, you're going to pick one of the activities, and you're going to reflect on it. And that's how we're going to kind of approach moral ed in this sense. Okay? So, mindfulness. This toolkit, what we're kind of developing is at the end of this, we're going to have, hopefully, and if you've done this properly, about 8 different strategies that you can take on when you're feeling all sorts of feelings. Right, the reason why we call it a toolkit is when something breaks in your house, I hope your parents have a toolkit, right? You go to your toolkit, and based on what's broken, you have a certain tool that you need. It's specific for that task. It might be a hammer, it might be a screwdriver, it might be a wrench, might be just good old duct tape, right? Just a good old tape, maybe some glue. Maybe that's all you need. What happens is you have a tool that you know will work given the situation. Mindfulness toolkits work the same way. When you're experiencing stress, no matter where it's from, right? You have this toolkit. You know what you need to grab, whether it's breathing exercises, whether it's a gratitude journal, whether it's any sorts of things. You're gonna read through all of these, right? So this toolkit is going to give us strategies that help you when you're stressed or anxious or depressed, and because life is difficult, so we need to have a toolkit ready to help us. We're focusing obviously on the four: taking a moment, being kind, showing gratitude, and resiliency, or bouncing back. This is an example, right? This is an example of it's for actually a younger grade than you, but it's the same idea. It's identifying, first of all, what is your mood? How are you feeling? It's a body scan, right? How am I feeling in this moment? What is my mood? And then based on that, it's having strategies available to cope and calm and collect yourself. Right? I don't really actually like that word of calming yourself, right? But what it is allowing you to process essentially how you're feeling and realizing that maybe it's not the end of the world, right? So this is just a long intro video. Click on the next video. It's going to talk a little. It's going to be a lot faster. It's going to be talking about taking a moment. All right, that's our very first one that we're going to do this week.